Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this bust pleated ball gown. So make sure you are watching to the end, as I'll be sharing the whole calculations involved in getting a perfect pleated skirt or gown. So be it a uniform pleat or just pleat by the side or at the front, I'll be explaining the whole processes involved. You have the option of adding a hard net to yours or a soft net, depending on how full you want it. I made this dress for a 2-year-old and I used 2 yards of brocade material and 1 yard of doll face satin. Then the hard net is just 2 yards of it. So let's go into it without much talking. So the first calculation we have to make is using our waist circumference. If you are making a pleated dress, be it a pleated skirt or a pleated gown, you need to multiply your waist circumference by 3, especially if you want a uniform pleat and you want to work with precision. Unless you just want to have pleats at the front or at the back or just by the side, just few pleats. But if you want your pleat to be uniform, you multiply your waist circumference by 3. Then you might want to ask, why 3 instead of 2? Usually a pleat is made up of a segment of material that has the same measurement into 3 places. So if you're making a bust pleated, it's even into 6, 3 at both sides. My waist circumference is 22 inches. When I multiply that by 3, it is 66 inches. Plus my 2 inches zipper allowance, that is 68 inches. So when you get these measurements, you can now decide if you want a straight pleat or a circle pleat. If you want a straight pleat, just measure that 68 inches straight and add your skirt length. But if you want a circle pleat, you have to do your calculations the way we'll cut out our full circle. So I will be dividing my 68 inches by 6.28 and the value is 10.8 instead of this 5.73. That is a mistake. So the correct value is 10.8. So you can just round it up to 10.75 or you just do 10.5 inches. So to get the skirt length, I'll add this waist radius to my skirt length. My skirt length is 17 inches. When I add it to the waist radius, I'll be having 27.8 inches. So I'll use this to cut a full fillet. I'll be folding my fabric the way we fold when we are cutting a full fillet. So when I get a pattern, I'll be demonstrating what I'll be doing on the fabric on this pattern. I'll fold into 2, then into 4. If you are cutting a straight pleat, you don't need to fold. So you just fold into 4 and the first line will be your skirt radius. Make sure you are marking from the folded end. Let me be using this value that I've already written here, 5.73. Because I'm just demonstrating. I'll mark that waist radius here, but on my fabric it was 10.8. So after marking it, I'll now mark my skirt length of 17 inches, and the full length of the gown I'm working with is 24 inches, and I've already taken away my 8 inches half length from it. So what was remaining, I just added my seaming allowance and I rounded it up to 17 inches. Then I'll cut the full length and the waist radius. So this is what I'll be having on my material, and we'll go ahead and make markings for our pleat. So like I said, I want a uniform number of pleats. So I want to have just 5 or 6 pleats. I'll just take away my 1 inch for the zipper allowance, and the rest will be the waist circumference, the actual waist circumference I'm working with. So I'll measure it and divide it by the number of pleats I want. Assuming I want 10 pleats, I'll divide this by 10 and I'll be having 10 pleats if I'm making a knife pleat. But since I'm making a bust pleat, it is 2 layers of knife pleat that makes up a box pleat. So if I divide it by 10, I will end up with 5 box pleats. If you divide by 12, you will end up with 6 box pleats. So if I decide to divide it by 8, I will end up with about 4 box pleats. So it depends on how many box pleats you want it. But if you want a knife pleat, if you divide by 8, you are getting 8. So I'll just make my markings on this paper to show you what I'll do on my fabric, or what I've already done on my fabric. So you take your marking. With this way, all your bust pleats will come out with the same width. But if you just want a bust pleat, one at the front, one at the back, just multiply the width of the bust pleat you have. Assuming I want 4 inches, I'll just multiply it by 3 and add to my waist circumference of 22 inches, and I'm good to go. I'll use it to cut out my circle. So after that, you see my markings. I'll take my first marking and pleat it towards the zipper allowance, and if I pleat it, you'll find out that there should be a line in between. So those lines are the line in between. I did not mark it, but when you fold it over, you find out that a line will be separating this and the one that is resting on top. And when you count those pleats, you'll find out that there are 3. That is why you need to multiply your waist circumference by 3 whenever you want to make a pleat. So this is one pleat by the side. The bust pleat is not completed because this is just a knife pleat. On the other side, I'll pick these markings and mark it to the other one that you are seeing me placing it on, and we now have one box pleat. So for one box pleat, we need 2 knife pleats, right? So there is a marking in between, but it was not marked. But when you fold it, you'll find out that the fabric resting on each other are 3 layers. So that is why you multiply your waist circumference by 3 whenever you are making a bust pleat. But if you just want one bust pleat at the front, at the back, you can just add the exact width of the fabric, the bust pleat you want, to your measurement. So I'll keep doing all that. This will be facing this as well. I'll pick this and pleat it towards the first one, and I'll pick the third one and pleat away to make another second box pleat. So from the one I got on my fabric, I was able to get 6 box pleats because I divided by 12. So 3 at the front and 3 at the back. You can do 2 at the front, 2 at the back. So the back one, mine was splitted because my zipper allowance needed to pass through, so I had to split it. But when I added my zipper allowance, it made up one box pleat. So as you can see, one box pleat contains 6 layers of fabric of the same measurement. So you keep doing that till you exhaust your marking or your fabric, and at the end, your waist measurement will come out the exact measurement that you needed. That is if you have done your calculations well. So but if you don't mind all those calculations, you don't want to work with precision, you can just cut out the fabric and just pleat whatever number it gives you, and it's fine by you, you work with it. But if you want to work with precision to know the actual amount of pleats you want and the width of each pleat, you have to go through this calculation. So I've done this on my fabric, and like I said, the back one was splitted into 2 so that I could pass my zipper through it. So at the end of it, I'll be having 6 pleats, 3 at the front and 3 at the back part. So when I take my measurements, I have exactly 25 inches. That is with my zipper allowance included. So I am good to go. And for my lining, I cut out a full circle. I want to add half net to this, so I want the hard net to distribute evenly inside the gown. So I made sure I cut out full circle and I made my markings on it. I have a very detailed tutorial on how to add hard net or can to your skirt, your petticoat. I will leave the link in the description box on this video, so you can always check it out and follow the steps. So I'll pleat my hard net on this line. You can as well add soft net. Like I said in the introduction of this video, if you don't want a hard net, you can go for a soft net, but you have to use more volume of this soft net to give you a standing look. That is if you want a standing look. So for the upper part, I am using a 2-year-old pattern. I've cut it out. If you don't know how to do this already, I will leave a link in the description box where you can find the tutorials on this. So I've cut out this, and since I'm working with a brocade material, just take note that brocade material frays most of the time a lot, so you have to add enough seam allowance. So I just added ½ inch all around, so that even if it's frays, I will end up with the actual seam that I want. So for the back of this pattern, it is V-neck, but for the one I'm working with, I just came up just 1 inch below the back neckline. So I'll just join the shoulder both on the brocade and on my satin, and I'll close it up with ½ an inch. And after closing it up, I will use my lining to cover up the brocade material, and I'll just sew on the neckline from one zipper to the other. So and after that, you can iron top stitch the neckline, and leaving out the zipper allowance, you add your belt to the down part. I will still be leaving the link of this belt tutorial on the description box. So close up the sides with one. I left 1.25 when I was drafting, so I'll just close up the sides with 1.25 on the lining and on the main fabric, right side facing each other, both the front and the back, and our upper parts will be ready to be joined to the skirt part. So as you can see in my armhole, I did not close up my armhole. So this is what the inside will look like after joining it. And I'll bring my skirt. The first is the pleated skirt part. I'll just join it to the fabric, leaving out the lining under. I'll be joining the lining to the lining. So I'll just pin up and sew with 1/2 inch. But since I'm working with a brocade material, I will sew with 3/4 inch. So after that, the outside will come out like this, and the inside I'll bring out my lining. But on this lining, I've not added my hard net. I'll still add my hard net to it, and I'll attach it to it. But I just want to show you what I'll be doing when I get to my machine. I'll add my hard net on the marks I made, and I'll just attach it, and I'll proceed to attaching my zipper at the back. So all the reference videos are on the channel. I'll make sure to link all of them to the description box. And for this sleeve, I just posted a video on how to make this sleeve yesterday, so I will attach this sleeve tutorial on the comment section and on the description box. So I'll attach my sleeve, and this dress will be ready. I'll come back to show you the outcome. And after all that, look at what I just made. It is so beautiful. I added a bow to the front part, and see how the volume that the hard net gave it. If you don't want the volume up to this extent, just reduce it, or you use a soft net if you want. If you just want it to just have a bit of volume. So the inside is neatly sewn like we normally do, and the knit is neatly attached. I'll just search around the armhole, and our dress is good to go. And if you've watched up to this point, thank you, and remember to hit that like button. I will see you in my next one. Bye.